welcome to cEDH Budget Brews. I'm Tim, and tonight I'm joined by my friends Jamaican Dude, aka Ashani. Say hi, Jamaican
Bravo. Well
He
done.
did it right this time.
You did it right this time. Well done.
And you're gonna give me shit for doing it right?
Of course I'm giving you shit for doing it
Okay.
right.
All right, Jamaican Dude.
Mm.
Jamaican Miller. And we are also joined by our friend MikeyJ. Say hi, Mike.
Hello, everyone.
So
Can't wait to hear
going-
Timmy and them bicker. It's gonna be great. That's why I come here.
You're going to be in here bickering with us. Like, don't think you're not, because you're getting sucked in on this one. So, I posted a question on Twitter about a week ago about kind of what do people feel is the number one barrier to giving new players kind of a pleasant and supportive experience when getting into cEDH. I got a lot of good answers. There were a couple of common themes that I saw amongst it, but before I shared my thoughts, I was kind of curious to see what you guys, like, what thoughts you guys had on it.
I'll let Mikey go first with that one.
I think in general, it's just a very intimidating format to get into. For one, EDH is meant to be kind of like this more casual thing, and then whenever people hear cEDH, they're like, "Oh, these people are just a bunch of tryhards," and think that it's like way too serious, and it takes a lot of the fun out of the game. So I think a lot of it just comes down to branding, and that's like the biggest barrier to entry, and just having people realize, like, even though yes, we are playing with really powerful cards, and it's like a step up from regular EDH, we're still just messing around and having just as much fun as someone who's dropping 10 drops by turn 7.
I mean, we're dropping 10 drops on turn 7. We just usually ritual into them.
I mean, yeah, we're also doing it like turn 2 and turn 3, you know, like
Right.
we got a little bit more speed going on.
Yes.
It's also just like, it's very rare that games actually end turn 2. Like everyone's like, oh, it's a turn 2 format. Like I hear that a lot. Like I heard Commander Replay was complaining about a little bit in Vegas, and it's like that happens like for me maybe once in like every 10 or 20 games someone gets their turn 2, and it's never really, no one's even like upset. It's just like, all right, cool, we get to shuffle up and go again.
Yeah, because like even Godo like doesn't just always go turn 1, turn 2. And and looking at the metagame project, actually right now, like the last time I talked to James about it and kind of looked at the last couple of reports, the actual games are ending on like turn 4 and turn 5 a lot. But the thing is that when I look at the pacing and speed of a cEDH game, I don't necessarily look at the amount of turns. I look at the amount of game actions performed. So if you look at the amount of game actions performed in a game of cEDH, like say, let's just say it lasts to turn 5, right? Compared to a less like high power build, like high power pod, the amount of game actions are actually, like when you get to the end state of the game, are actually kind of similar. It's just in the lower power pods, they tend to just kind of build it a little bit more.
Yeah, because even if our games end turn 4, turn 5, like those are still hour-long games.
Yeah, I watched a couple of videos. I watched a couple of Command Zone videos. I watched some other, I just don't recall them off the top of my head, like non-cEDH channels. And I also did watch some cEDH channels. And just the sheer amount of game actions that are performed over the course of a game is like ridiculous. I count one cEDH game was like 45 game actions. Like that's spells being cast, fetch lands, tutors by like turn 4. I was like, and it was a mid-range pod. It wasn't even like a fast pod. The turbo pod, like the turbo nose pods, just get ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, so I definitely can see that the branding can be an issue, and that can kind of make for a little bit of like a contentious, especially like when people come in, like when people are new, they can tend to be a little self-conscious or a little apprehensive because, I mean, you get self-conscious when you're trying to explore into something and it's new and you're not proficient at it. I mean, I do, everybody does, right?
Mhm.
So having like a softer hand can be very helpful in that instance. What about you, Sean?
So, assuming this question is not with a budget in mind, right? Like, money is
Not
not an
necessarily.
option for you getting into it. 'Cause I think that's the number one barrier is the cost of getting into cEDH. But then that comes in with the whole proxy friendly mentality and how people feel about that. But um, I think other than those two things, I think the number one barrier is I think it's the play group that you play with. As people, I think people there's a stigma of people who play competitive Magic, no matter what you're playing, if it's EDH, Modern, Legacy, whatever.
Right.
People, it comes with that stigma that those people can be sweaty tryhards. They can be, dicks, douches. They come with a very, cocky mentality, and some people don't want to get into it because of that.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one. For me, at least, is the people who you choose to play with.
Mhm.
Is the community, I would say, would be the number one barrier to the thing. You could go with a softer hand. A lot of people who like winning, you're gonna have people who start pub stomping and making other players who is playing lower power deck don't feel as welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those people give competitive people a bad rep. But
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the big things that I have observed, like with me, like just dealing with like the sheer volume of like new players, are people like thinking about exploring cEDH, is that some of the stuff like early on I have to like really hammer home is like, if you're is you need to play within that acceptable range with your play group. Like you can't just show up with Godo and then with full maxed out and then somebody's got a $112 precon with a couple of upgrades and expect everybody to have a good time. Like
yeah,
that's
it's
just
not going to happen.
no. And really at the end of the day, like cEDH, non cEDH, whatever power level you're at, it's really all about having a good time. However
Right.
that good time is,
Yeah, everyone likes playing Magic differently.
Right.
Like some people look at the stuff that we're doing as like, this is way too much. I'm trying to just like play something where I don't have to think as hard and things like that. Meanwhile, cEDH, if you're playing like a mid range or something that's a little bit more control-y, you can't lift your eyes from the table for a second because you might miss 5 spells.
Right, exactly. Doc in chat says that personally he feels dumb when he makes obvious mistakes and like misread and like mainly like misreading cards. And you know what? I just posted a video 2 days ago where I had a turn 1 Nas and then I cracked an LED for 3 red and then didn't have my double black.
Yeah, like we all make stupid mistakes all the time, or it's like we misread something, or like there's one time recently I was playing against Gronlock, the new Simic Frog commander,
Mm-hmm.
and I got blown out because there's a telepathy in play, so I saw everyone's hands, and I was like, oh, cool, like there's no interaction. And then they had an overcharged amalgam, or whatever it's called, in his yard, which is like a creature that is a counter. And I just didn't realize that was even a card because it just got leaked like 2 days before the game I was playing, and I was like, oh, well, yep, I guess I'm dead. That's fine.
You just walked right into it, didn't you?
Yeah, like I guess I had no idea. It was not something I'm used to playing around, but that always happens, and people always have like cute little pet cards that catch you off guard here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friend Drake, he's playing a lot of Bergie, and I have to read like every other card that he's casting. So I'm like, what does this even do?
Yeah, but who plays Mono Red Storm anyways? That's nonsense.
Yeah,
Gonna read every
Crossfire.
card.
Yeah, Crossfire talking to you.
I don't know. Drake's Bergie list has been very impressive. I
agree. I lose to it a lot, but it's just Mono Red, dude.
Yeah,
Nobody know what Mono Red does.
Exactly. What I'm saying, it's even people who've been playing the format like us for a while. Like there's still cards that we're just like, what the hell?
Sean, you're ascending.
Yeah, he's just disappearing.
he's talking to his wife. All right.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just giving you trouble. But
so I could disappear to the island.
you're like literally on the island. So after seeing the post, I kind of have two things I think could do a lot to kind of help make the play experience for new players better. And just honestly for not so much even just new players getting into cEDH, but cEDH players going into a new forum or a new like arena to play. Like if you're going to like a new play group or you're getting assistance with a deck idea and like a new brew space that you haven't been in before. And the first one is acknowledging and accepting that metas are different and that your meta is not everybody's meta.
Yep. I'm
a
learning
good
that
example
partly.
of that. A good example of that is I've been cutting carpet of flowers from a lot of my budget lists. Not because carpet's not a good card, but because I'm almost playing in all non-blue pods. And even if I am playing in pods with 1 or 2 blue decks, they're not on fetch dual mana bases. They're on like all the like rainbow lands and different configurations. So there tend to be like, I'll go 3 or 4 turns with carpet just always not making mana, like pretty consistently. So like, why play it, right? Same thing with Red Blast and Pyroblast. Like, there's not enough blue for me to use it. I'm better off having like a duress effect or a piece of creature removal. But if I posted a list in a lot of places that weren't running carpet, that would automatically be like everybody's like laser focus, and then like the rest of the list would just get ignored. And I've seen that with other cards. There's a good example of, I was playing like Hipster Stacks. It's not on Mox Diamond. When you ask, Pedro about it, he's got good reasoning and it makes total sense. It's just like why don't, you know what I mean? And kind of the same thing.
Yeah, for the audience, could you tell us what Hipster Stacks is?
Hipster Stacks is a Tana and Arden. So it's a Naya Stacks deck, a lot of hate bears. It runs like 3 Null Rod effects. And you win with Godo and equipment, but you use Arden's ability to get the equipment onto Godo or onto your creatures to like generate value and win. So it can play under it perfectly fine, but playing a stacks deck with a bunch of rule laws and a bunch of rule laws, a bunch of null rods, and a bunch of tax effects, you really want to make your land drops. So one, Mox Diamond is almost always shut off because of your null rods, and then 2, you don't want to go down a land drop by pitching it to Mox Diamond because of the fact of the way the deck is designed and plays. So that makes perfect sense. I mean, I asked about it, but kind of that's another thing, like another obvious omit. I kind of see those types of discussions happen a lot.
So you could call Hipster Stacks a bad deck then, correct?
No, it's not a bad deck.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, but if someone enjoys playing it, I guess they can.
I mean, sure, but it's doing like...
Yeah, it has a game plan. It does its thing, and
the predominant pilot does relatively well with it. Like,
yeah, he likes playing stacks a lot. That's just the big thing. I just disagree with stacks right now, but that's a whole other discussion.
No. I'm not disagreeing with that, but the point is like it's doing well in his meta with him piloting it, and it has these like things that a lot of people would consider obvious omits. I've brewed lists and submitted them that have obvious omits. I mean, you guys do it too.
I get a lot of flack for not running Twister in various decks, and it's like, I don't run Twister because I'm on Breach, Numani Betrayal, and Yawgmoth's Will in a lot of my decks. Like, I don't want to shuffle away my graveyard, but since I'm missing like this staple,
right? Yeah,
I run into the same thing where things just get overridden, and it's like, well, your deck's bad because you don't have Twister. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I put a lot of thought into this. It's pretty decent.
Well, and the thing is just the assumption that my meta translates to your meta, and so when you have a new player coming in to cEDH, they come in with all kinds of ideas, and then you just hit them with like, play this, play that, or whatever, like, this, and then you just rip the whole thing apart instead of like throwing some logic behind it, trying to have a conversation. All it does is just take so they're already a little like new, like people who are new to those types of groups are already a little like kind of on edge, a little self-conscious, and then you shove a bunch of crap down their throat, and then it just doubles down on the bad taste in their mouth. Then we just like you just pointed out, like we've already got a bit of an image issue as it is with the whole casual kind of competitive, like dynamic and kind of static. So then anybody who could potentially become an ally or an ambassador, you run away.
I mean, yeah. It should have played by Dexter.
I mean,
this is coming from the guy who plays on math, but listen.
And Narset.
Sir, there's a Narset community and it's very strong. And it's a good deck. But it's okay. I'll beat you with it and then you'll stop saying this. You're joining this Scotty bandwagon. But anyways, these are solid points, Tim. Solid points.
Yeah. Go on, Sean. What were you going to say?
Well, no. I think we had this conversation before, and I believe the only way to change the image is, go to our LGSs, if they are proxy friendly at the LGS, or if they're not, if you have a big card pool, build multiple decks, carry your decks there, and loan your decks out, and play people will enjoy what they're doing. Help them out, be that grunt worker on the ground, spreading the word of cEDH, and eventually people start coming around.
You sort of have to do that. I kind of do that with like casual decks and stuff, like especially since I started the pre-con upgrade. Like I've packed a lot of interaction in that deck for very little money. And it does some work.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that. Just you have to remember, to start the arm race, you can't be too far ahead of everyone. You have to
just out of reach.
You're just gonna be out of reach where they can touch you, but they can't hold you.
Nope. You got to be like a ghost or a unicorn.
Yeah, just give them the faint hope of I can reach that level, and then you start the arm race, and then eventually you'll get there. I think high power. I know there's people like to say high power cEDH is not the same thing. As long as your deck is as tuned as you can get it for what you can afford. I think competitive is a mindset, not a.
Well, and there's a lot of bleed over anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You go into an LGS, I see a lot of people playing cEDH that aren't running like every duel, every rock.
Exactly.
They're not running, I don't own a Force Will, I'm not playing it. Like, that stuff exists.
But they're still playing very strong synergy, and they still, definitely.
That's the big thing. Your deck just needs to have a focus and actually be able to do a game plan and execute that game plan.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I always get a lot of questions. Like, I've also helped Timmy with this, where it's like I have a list and it's like, how do we make this budget friendly? And like I help someone a lot with like a budget Anala list, and I'm like, you're not going to get the turn 2 wins consistently, but it's a turn 3, turn 4 deck, and that's still plenty fast. Like you don't need. You can still have fun playing the deck. You're still going to get to do all the Anala things. It's just you're missing, like they were missing a lot of the fast mana, like Mox Diamond, Mox Opal. So it's like you don't play the deck and expect to win turn 2 like I can do with mine. You have to play it and just know, all right, this is a turn 3, turn 4 deck now, which is still plenty to be competitive, plenty to sit at a table, and they're playing it in a pod where everyone's on cEDH. It's not like they ever felt like they were blown out or anything.
Right, especially if it's people that are playing even just like slightly budgetized lists. Even like once you start dropping anything from like that budgetless proxy meta, and you start dropping it down, like that gap just is like just narrows. Like where I was running into problems and was playing like against like proxy budgetless decks playing like a $500 list, and like it just wasn't working. Like even like a 750 or 1,000, like most lists, like maybe like the only one that I play routine that I think at 1K could compete against budgetless builds is Godo, and that's only not because I'm a Godo fan, but because it's only missing 5 cards from the DDB list. LED, Grim Monolith, Mox Diamond, and like City Traders and Wheel of Fortune. That's the other $2,000 in the list right there.
Mm-hmm.
But so the one thing was like the whole like, you know, like kind of like acknowledging and remembering that there is diversity of metas and that different metas do speak to different things. The other thing that was kind of related to it that I kind of thought about was just if you decide to answer that question, reply to those posts, engage in that conversation, like that conversation has to have nuance. Like a lot of times like I'll get people that'll come in and they'll want to just play whatever deck that they think is cool and they just want to power it up. And you kind of like, there's just not enough, like, I think what it was like, there's just not enough common vernacular to kind of help like move that conversation along. So like one of the first things I usually do with people is like, I'll ask them if they're trying to build a cEDH deck, or are they trying to like are they trying to optimize or streamline? Like, are they trying to streamline what they got, which is just make it better, cut that 4-drop for a 2-drop kind of thing? Or are they trying to like play, like, are they trying to play an optimized list? Or so that like, that's good verbiage and a good way to kind of differentiate between the two. Because a lot of times people are really just trying to streamline a deck. They're not really, and then they want to go play with their friends that are playing more powerful stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's other vernacular that we can use, like figuring out what type of archetypes people play. Like, I'm not just going to yell at people to go play blue farm every day if they play mono green. Like, it just doesn't work out. So trying to figure out like what their strategies are that they already kind of gravitate towards, and finding something to kind of fit into it.
Right.
Or an analog, somewhat of an analog, even if it's not exact.
Okay.
And just kind of, but as we can kind of help, just kind of like how like over the like last 6 or 8 months, like that the rule zero conversations kind of started to kind of come more and more and more to the forefront. Like when we're interacting with new players or people kind of new and interested in cEDH, or people who say they're cEDH players and are cEDH players, but new to your meta or new to your play group or wherever your community is, getting some of like just helping build a broad community known vocabulary that we can use kind of back and forth to kind of help. Because a lot of these like play X, go burr or else because your thing's trash. A lot of that's just mental shortcuts, to be honest. Okay. It's the dude replying to the 18th post about the same fringe, whatever, just burnt out, just tired of doing that dance. But if they have things that are able to kind of lower that mental burden and make that process a little bit easier smoother on their end, but still being able to help, I have found personally to be very beneficial, at least on my end.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's all very fair.
Okay. So, any other thoughts?
I mean, is there really any other thoughts on this question? I don't know. I think is there another way we can look at this question? I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm trying to like. That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward question. I mean, we talk about the community. We talk about the deck building of the community. That's how to introduce people to it. I guess we could talk about what people are doing right now is more tournaments, which gives us more publicity of
More exposure.
and more exposure of the format of cEDH. So a lot of people are doing that right now. There is if people follow Playing with Power, they're doing a league right now. There was
the 1K league.
Yeah, there's many other leagues that was done with cEDH did some leagues. We had leagues in cEDH next. So just more people willing to put on events because truthfully, events are hard to TO and get people together and
oh my god,
like
they're insane.
You guys know, I never TO'd one. I just gladly just only commented and play. So I don't really know the nitty-gritty of it, but the people who are willing to like put an event together, it takes a lot of time and effort. So remember when you play in those tournaments, make sure you give the guys who put it together a shout out. But I think that's pretty much it. We just need to keep making content where newer players are willing to try new decks. Like we like to just play the best cards, right? That's kind of what our mentality is as cEDH players. But on the other hand, you have people who just like building very niche out of the, weird out of brand commanders that just do weird stuff. Like I think Scotty and Crossfire are the two people, and higher. They like just brewing weird decks. Doesn't matter what the commander is, they just pick a card. They pick a card, they build around the card, and it's just fun.
I use Hire's Evolution list and Hire's Kinnan list as examples of all the time of like, you can play these cards. You just need to like have the reason, have the purpose. Like when I tell somebody who's plays non cEDH and is thinking about you can Deadeye Navigator is a cEDH card, and then their eyes light up.
Lurking Predators is a card that can resolve.
Can't do things.
It can resolve and do things. You can play a Eldrazi.
I was going to say, Hire's making Eldrazi's work in cEDH.
Yeah, like you can play Eldrazi, you can play Voidwinter, you can play If That Betrays. I mean, like, these are things that if someone came to you and say, I played a cEDH deck with an If That Betrays, they would look at you funny. Like,
I would. I mean, it was the same thing when I looked at Hire and he was like, I'm going to play Deadeye. And I'm like, you're crazy. No, you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he hit me with the whole, like, you can Neoform Kenrith into it. And it blinks Dockside. And I'm like...
And it only costs 3 to go infinite. Yeah.
I shut up.
I think this kind of lends into, like, one problem that I kind of see with things is, and I kind of fall into this bucket sometimes, is someone's new to the format and they're like, what should I play? And everyone's just like, oh, Blue Farm, that's the best deck. Or, like, here's a Grixis pile. Like, these are just, like, objectively, like, good cards.
Yeah.
But you just kind of ignore a lot of these other strategies. And like, I feel like that's something that happens too with like the database. Cause a lot of times it's like, oh, like these are just the best lists on the database. Meanwhile, on the similar vein of playing like Voidwinter and stuff, Ian's and a few other people's like their Malcolm Kettis lists are playing some ridiculous cards like you would never picture in cEDH. It's this Kettis makes a ton of mana and you're able to just drop it. Like you can play Niv Mizzet in the 99 and it's not weird. So I think it's just trying to like be more open, not like tunnel on these are quote unquote the best. Like even in Vegas, like I sat down with Crom Armix and someone who like didn't know me at all was like, why are you playing the bad Grixis deck? Why aren't you playing Kess or Tevish Crom? And I was like, okay, this is productive stranger I've never met. And then I proceeded to like 3-0 them in their pod, but it's just like, it's like that. People kind of fall into these buckets. Like this is what cEDH is. These are the best decks. And if you play something outside of this, then you're just bad. And it's like, that's just not true. You can play weird stuff and it still works fine.
Exactly. Like I saw the other day, like when people say mono green, like there's only 3 commanders that come in my mind. It's Marwyn, Yisan, and Sylvala. Like nothing else comes in my mind. And
We
there
had a
was
push
this
from
guy,
Marwyn.
and there was a strong push from Marwyn, right? And
Luckily, I didn't.
there's
watch
this
that
guy
one.
who played Ashaya and as a commander, and I'm like, that seems weird. But hey, it's mono green, it's legendary, and you can play it. Like, why not? Like,
I mean,
saw
it's a combo.
someone
It's a combo piece, and pretty much all
in
of the other 3 green decks.
exactly. There was another one who saw a guy playing. Is it like bears grow? That grow something where your 6 drops cost 2 Lex.
Oh yeah, the bear.
The bear, yeah.
Oh god, I can't think of the name of it. But
I
yeah,
can't think of it.
I know exactly what you're talking about too.
Yeah,
like this dude was playing bear tribal or like tribal 6 drops. So I'm like, what? But I mean, it's different, and I think us as cEDH content creators, we fall into that trap of what is new. What these are the staples and the go-to of C decks.
right.
Like,
And then Yeva.
like I was just helping Carl on Nexus build a deck with the new it's the new legendary 5-drop where it gives all your instants in your graveyard flashback.
Lear?
Yeah, Lear.
Yeah, Lear.
Like all instant and sources in there. And it was like, I want to use this card. And it was like, I was like, okay. He was like, oh, can I play Ultra Droids? And I'm like, okay, I have Ultra Droid decks, and this is how you build an Ultra Droid deck. And I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. Why would you want to play this commander? Why would you want to play this one creature? Is a Hull Breaker just better? It's like, yeah, everybody's doing that. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Just being outside the box and building, and I think that's what a lot more casual players like.
And they do, and that's a big push in casual. Like one of the things like Doc's
Exactly.
talking about is that he kind of feels like cEDH is a little bit of a solved format. And especially like kind of solid, but it can have that feel where you only play these cards or else you're fringe and don't do that well. I mean, so here's the thing, like
you need to read that without mumbling it, Tim.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea what you said.
From Doc, I don't want to call cEDH a solved format, but it can have that feel where you only play cards or else you're fringe and won't do that well. So
that's true and not true at the same time.
There's a limit. Like it's like what we were talking about with Hire. Like sure, he threw Eldrazi into a cEDH deck, but it wasn't just like he picked a random list and was like, "Here, this works." He built around Kinnan, which cheats things into play. Like you can play fringy stuff. You just still need to have a game plan and a way to execute it.
Right, and that game plan needs to like pass a metric, which isn't clearly defined, but it's a metric.
No, it's not, and sadly, cEDH used to be solved, but I don't think it's solved anymore. There used to be the best deck. And if you're not playing the best deck, then you're just not playing cEDH. But I think now there's a lot more things that can fly around where these fringe, what you would call fringe, is now accepted and playable. Like what Mikey was saying. He bring Arbix Crom and is like, that was not the go-to Grixis deck. Like it was either Kess or something else, or
Blue Farm,
Val Smasher X or Blue Farm. Yeah. And then you bring this so-called niche deck into the environment, and then people see it perform, and then you're like, oh, something new I can play. Everybody gravitates to it. And that's kind of what it is. I think that's what every deck builder wants in this format or in any format you play. You want to make your niche deck great, right? And I think that's why even as casual players started out, you always want to have your stamp on the community as this is what I brought here. and I made it great, right? At least that's how I look at it.
Well, and I mean, that's actually one of the big draws to Commander versus other formats is that it's a lot of brewing and brewing through like self-expression through brewing and through deck building.
Yes.
Like, you know, there's no other format where you're incentivized to like have a commander with a matching playmat, matching sleeves, and running every copy of a card with its name in it. You know what I mean? And not only is it acceptable, it's encouraged.
And not either format where you see that many people spending thousands of dollars on altars because they want to pimp it out. Yeah.
And it is much more limited to where most players who want to play competitively net deck. And honestly, that's the same even with cEDH. I mean, on a certain level, there's always a big push to net deck, especially starting out. So that way you learn. That's why it's important to net deck. It's just, it's important to learn and then modify. But that part of the message kind of gets lost a lot of times, which is another...
You have some people who will shame others for net decking. Like, I have people who will literally, oh, you're a net decker. Like, get your own original ideas. And there's people out there like that, Tim.
Yeah, and what's their win rate?
I'll tell you, never played with them.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Couldn't tell you. But I mean, they normally have their own little whatever.
They usually probably do well in their meta and their play group.
Yeah, exactly. They're normally pop stompers to a point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't net deck.
Oh, you don't? Oh, you just play a $6,000 deck against precons. Okay.
Yes, I want to throw my wallet at you. But, I mean...
I got into it with a guy at the LGS a couple of weeks ago for doing that. He got a taste of Cody.
Oh, that book.
8-0'd his ass.
That's not even fair, Tim.
That's just rude.
That's just rude.
Dude, he was playing like...
You are the cause of the problem.
He played a $6,000 deck against his two buddies with precons.
Okay, then he deserves it.
He needed a little self-correction.
Yeah, I totally agree. He need his soul corrected. Did he leave? Did he leave in rage?
His buddies were dying. They were laughing. They were
Nice.
cracking up every game.
Nice.
See, when I go to the LGS, I realized I need to play group hug things. Yeah. So I brought Celestia Silvala, and I gave everybody cards. Yeah, everybody like cards, right?
Yeah, everybody like cards.
Everybody like cards.
You should play the Kairos and Tyros, man.
The gay bros?
Yeah, the gay Romans.
Yeah.
If I build that deck, I'm building it very not happily. I'm building Armageddons and...
But it's a group hug.
Choco Hops and... No.
It's a group hug deck, Sean. Everybody like cards. It gives them cards.
I'll give you cards. You can draw 6 cards per turn while I combo out. Everybody feels happy.
Okay, all right. But, so, I got a little sidetracked, but where I was going was that there is this big, like, kind of dichotomy of most Magic formats, especially ones that are competitive, do strongly emphasize net decking. Commander in and of itself is very much at its core against that because it's meant to be a haven against like uber competitive Magic. And that's actually one of the reasons why I really like cEDH is that you get that like that tight technical play, you get everybody kind of playing really good lists for the most part. But it's a much more relaxed atmosphere. Like, I'm just a spike at heart. Like, you can go back and look at my little pre-con upgrade series. The first thing I did was put in a Teamer Sabertooth and a Village Bellringer, like, week 1. And then, like, 5 ways to find it.
Yeah. Like honestly, the thing that I'd love most about cEDH is just generally people who are playing the format have a better understanding of the rules. Because messy stacks, they drive me insane. So I like it when people actually like respect priority and things, and that's the main reason why I play the format, to be honest. Because I was tired of going to LGSs where people are like just playing for the first time, and it's like skipping priority, skipping this, skipping that. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying.
I want to play my Terror Stomper now, sir, and you can't respond to it. No. Yes.
I mean, just because you play a card fast doesn't mean it resolves.
Yeah, I'll put it on the board quickly. It resolves. Oh my god!
I already said pass turn. I'm like, whoa,
whoa, dog. Whoa,
give me a second,
there, doggy. Right.
It hit the battlefield, dude. It resolved.
Okay, so here's a quick question related to my second point, or my second like idea. What do you think are some like good verbiage, some good terms that we can maybe begin to adopt, like the optimization versus streamlining that I use?
Okay.
Like to kind of help that, like those conversations, like when it's players in new spaces, players that are new, like thinking about coming into cEDH or just coming into a new play group, like to help make that, to relieve some of that mental burden. Like as somebody who's had to, like Sean, as a sensei on the Nexus, you've had to deal with a lot of new players and a lot of new players in your play group. So you've had to answer those questions a lot. What are some ways to shortcut that without coming across so terse or aggressive?
I always like the word tuning. Like you just have, it's like, here's your idea, but like we need to like tune it a little bit to make it more like efficient or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not denying. Like, yes, I am a sensei there, and once upon a time, I would like to help others, but I was always that person where I will help you if you bring a deck, and I want to play this deck. And I'll first ask you the normal question of, what do you enjoy playing? What is your play style? Do you want to be, combo, stacks, tempo? If you first understand all of those terminology, and then you bring a deck, I normally just send you off to the expert of whatever deck you want to play. It's normally my go-to thing.
Well, that's fine, but you still go through a process of getting to that point. You don't just look at the commander and then tell him the message, so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about when you're in a pod with somebody?
So I'm just that guy, Tim. Yes, I was once a great sensei who held hands and say, listen, let me finish. Let me finish. Yeah. I used to be that guy. Like, okay, if you're going to make this play, let's talk about why you're making this play. And let's learn the format. And first, you should learn the format, read the deck that you're playing. Everybody has like a 2-page primer on the deck. Like, don't play a deck without reading the primer. That's one of the first rules, I think. After that, after we get through that first initial go through, and if we're in a game, Magic is hard. I don't think anybody here can deny that. Magic is hard.
Nope.
And threat assessment, no? Magic, okay. Well, Tim, you're different. And threat assessment is hard.
Magic is hard, and I'm not great at this game.
Yeah, and threat assessment is hard. And there's no golden rule for threat assessment. Like,
there is.
So we had our golden rule, Tim, and sometimes it doesn't work. Our golden rule was, if it doesn't win the game, don't interact with it. And
that is not. That's so bad.
And listen, sir. It has got me this far so long.
Intuition itself doesn't win the game, so just let it resolve.
Exactly.
Is it going to kill you now, or is it going to kill you later?
Exactly. That was one of our big things. Like I can die later. That's fine. Am I dying now? I mean, maybe not. But yeah. But then now we have a different breed of people, like Mikey here, who will counter everything I don't even care about the guy who's sandbagging because he had priority first. See, it's a different generation we're living now,
Just
Tim.
bleed you dry, Mikey. Bleed you dry.
They do it all the time. I'm like, Mikey, why you interacting? He hasn't cut. No, I have priority first. I have to use it. I'm like, this is not how we brought people up. If it doesn't win the game, don't interact. That was the golden rule. And then that golden rule produces sandbaggers in the Discord community like LJ, like Tim, or Jamaican, or Scotty. Like, every time you can play, if anyone have these experiences with these people, they always will say, these guys always have it. No, we don't always have it. We just never used it. That's the thing.
Somebody get pro to me. Like, this has happened several times. And I'm like higher in priority than them. And I just pass to them.
And then someone will say, I know you have interaction. Yeah, but doesn't mean I have to use it.
You're at the bottom of the list.
Like, there's been so many. I know we're going on a different topic right now, but
it's okay.
Like, I have went through so many metas in Discord where it was everybody goes burr and nobody plays interaction, to now a play group where everybody plays interaction, and now I'm in a play group where nobody plays on stack interaction, but there's a bunch of stack pieces on the board, and it's like everything is just different.
Mm-hmm. We have to adapt to that. Yeah,
you just have to adapt to it, right? And that's the thing. You adapt to your play group.
Yeah,
and I think that's the beauty of it. I think people should just.
Well, I mean, look at those three distinct metas that you play in. There's cards you'll play in one that you will not play in another. But if you take the list aren't there cards that you'll play in one play group that you won't play in another?
Yeah, you're correct.
But if you took the list from one meta and took it to another, they'd be like, why the fuck are you playing that card?
Yeah, I agree. It would be pretty bad. Like, I think Richie, when Richie first came to this Discord, he was like, everybody had like 5 mana on turn 1, turn 2, and Richie went land pass, and he was like, am I playing mid power here? Like, why is everyone on 5 mana on turn 1? And I'm like, dude, I don't understand the whole multi-interaction. The whole multi-fast mana, that's why I love it, because Darkseid is always online. Like, it's always. And then you have the other meta where, like, dude, I'm not playing a rock to save your life. And I will counter your Mox Diamond because I don't like you. Like,
you're like jamming Nyx in your list just to counter the
exactly. Just to counter the Mox Diamond. Like, it's so drastic. It's absolutely funny.
Oh, that's great.
It's hilarious.
All right. But I guess my point was, Sean, was that, like, I mean, sure, but that's my whole thing. The reason why you don't do that now is because you're burnt out, because you did it so much before. So maybe having some amount of, like, scripted material, common vernacular that we can kind of help use to shrink down that mental burden for people, that might help. One, it might make the experience for people more pleasurable coming in. Two, it will help with attrition rate on people being burnt out from constantly being asked those questions. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of, like, starting to kind of disseminate some of it into the broader community.
Yeah, there's one. Go ahead.
My upbringing in cEDH was very much like sink or swim with Philly, because I was one of the more inexperienced players. So it was just like I would play with them. They're like, "Yeah, you just have to get good," and I'm like, "All right, I'm trying."
I mean, me and Sean learned how to play with Spleen, Noobs, Lab Maniac Luke, and Wedge. We got dunked on hard.
I had to take my frog exam. My Carrock exam versus Noobsaurus. That was good times. Good times.
During ranked ladder too, and like getting
During
it done
ranked
in the
ladder,
timer.
yes.
Yeah, getting it done in the timer.
No, that is true. But I think if someone is in the community or that person who gets asked a lot of questions, I think first of all, out of everything, you should have a good network. I personally believe whatever deck the person is interested in, there's a Discord for it.
There is, but those places aren't always created equal, and they're not always friendly.
They're not always welcome, and that's true. And I think you should at least know one person out of that community who is willing enough to talk to someone and not belittle them. Like, you have a tendency, anything get wrong related, you send someone to me. If someone wants to talk Tim the Thrasios mid-range, I send them to Tim. If someone wants to talk Grixis, I know nothing about Grixis. I will either send them, normally it was to Tim, but don't send them to Mikey because I know nothing. I am very new to knowledge.
I'm more of a Grixis mid-range guy anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, now Jamaican's doing better with me with my own list.
So yeah, I like, no, I like, so yeah.
Hate the game.
Hate the game, true. I think normally you should always just have that one person. If someone wanted to just chit chat and brainstorm, I send them to Higher if he has the time, because Higher can just talk for hours about any brew of magic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you should just have that network of people who you believe that person will click with. And I think that's how you'll build a community.
Like I think the best way to go about good at, and me and him are kind of in a similar vein on this one. I didn't mean to cut you off. We're really good at tuning lists.
You guys are really good at having no fat in your list. There's a difference. You don't believe in cute shit.
Absolutely not.
No
time for that here.
Yeah. It's hard out there, man. You ain't got time to be playing.
No, it's not hard out there. You need cute
slots. Use them.
You need
all that bullshit in your list, Sean.
See, this is a problem. This is why the casuals have a hard time with you, because you don't believe in the cuteness. You don't believe in the sickness.
It, Sean. Just gotta justify.
No, you gotta believe in the sickness. If she ain't sick, she ain't ready.
And
that's the thing,
tackle better. Big
oh my God,
better. That's true.
All right, this guy here.
But what were you gonna say, Mikey? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think the best way to start forming a network is, like, there's a bunch of different Discord communities, and some of them aren't as like welcoming as others. You just need to join one of like the larger ones, something like Nexus, and then from there you're able to find like the people that you really click with and things, and then you're able to like branch off, make your own like play group, or have like some more of these discussions. And that's something that I've done a lot throughout my time in cEDH, is kind of just going to these places, finding the people that I'm close with. Like you two, for instance, like I met both of you from Founders and like Nexus and things like that, and now we're able to talk and just keep helping each other with different things, or it's like we are able to redirect people to like one of us if they need help with a list. I think you just kind of need to take the plunge. It's not going to be the best. It's the internet. You're going to meet some not as nice people, but it's worth it when you actually start putting time into it and start to find the people that click with you, like your ideas, and help you out, because they do exist out there. They might not present themselves right away, but they will show up, and then next thing you know, you might be like me, and then you're traveling across the country to meet up with these people in person.
T-Pain. Sorry, Richie's being a clown in chat. He's saying
He's always a clown.
Nasty, Terrasta nasty, and I said T-Don.
Not a saying. It's called T-Don. Terrastodon is T-Don. Please do not listen to Richard.
It's not Terrasta nasty.
It's not Terrasta nasty. That is so...
T-Pain.
T-Pain. Anywho.
All right.
That's rich.
All right.
That's rich, fellow.
Okay. I think we've kind of covered this pretty well. Unless there's any additional thoughts you guys wanted to add to it.
Additional thoughts? No.
No.
Play Armix Scrum, guys. That's
it's just about. I was gonna say we're just gonna move on.
Yeah, let's play Armix Scrum. That's all.
Just for everybody who's still here, if you want to support us, cEDH Budget Brews. There's links to the YouTube channel, the Patreon, all that kind of stuff in the chat. If you help us out, throw us a buck. It does do a lot to help improve equipment, keep the lights on. That's how Sean got all those palm trees there.
And that dollar
There.
dollar a month. There we go. Each palm tree.
So, Jamaican, where can people find you? How do they get a hold of you? What are you working on? Any projects? Anything like that?
You can find me a lot of places, but I normally won't answer. But you have to ping me and wait a couple hours for me to respond because I'm on island time, as we can see. You can find me on the Nexus. You can find me currently at playing with Power Leagues.
Thanks, Richie, for
If you want to give up some points, I'm always here to take your points. You can find me on the Corval server that I'm currently being more active on, and that's about it. I'm on a lot of places, guys. You can find me on the active Legacy Discord, Modern Discord. I'm wherever. Just type in Jamaican Dude and see if you find me, and we can have a chat.
All right, and Mikey, where can people find you? What are you working on? Anything? You got projects?
Not too many projects at the moment. Armix Crom is the big thing, but I feel like it's in a pretty good spot, and I've been letting Jamaican Dude take over, testing new things, and Melissa's in a really good spot. We have two slightly different versions. They do the same thing. It's literally like 3 or 4 cards different. Other than that, working on some new Evo stuff where I'm doing
a few different cards in his list.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm working on some Evolution Thrasio Sakiri where I'm trying to lean more into Hermit Druid, but I'll get to testing that later. As for where you can find me, I am involved with Monarch, so I'm over in that Discord. I've been playing with Power, cEDH TV, Remoras. I'm not in as many places as I used to. As I mentioned, went to big servers. Now I've kind of made my own little groups where I chat, but not too hard to find me on Discord. If you message Timmy, he'll point you in my direction.
I'll track him down for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, he'll do his best.
I'm like
he is
a
good at finding me.
Bloodhound. So, well, thanks again for joining me. Richie, thanks for lurking and listening. If you guys ever want to watch some really fun, like retro video gaming, Richie has a YouTube or a Twitch channel. It's Big Richie 2004. Check him out. And thanks again, everybody, for coming out. And everybody have a good night.
Bye.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, shit.